All right, guys, I want to share a couple of little tricks and tips for using a stick when you're doing Asaya stick dance Saidi, or when you're kind of using this as a prop, if you will. Okay, so a couple of things. You want a stick that's not too tall. This is probably too tall for me, honestly, because it's going all the way to my waistline. I like it a little bit more at the hip bone. So I've got limited supplies at my house right now, so this is what I'm going to be working with. But in general, you want it pretty close to the hip bone, so when you're kind of moving it around, it's just a general idea. The weight. Now you can also use a cane, those like gold shiny canes. You can also use those. This has a little bit of weight to it, which I like. I think I prefer something with a little bit of weight. If it's too feathery and too light, I feel like I can't quite control it. So that's a personal preference, and find something that feels good to you and that you can kind of really work and play with. So the other super tip is use a rubber band, and I use it as like brakes. So I put it around the tip here, and you want it nice and tight. And usually like the gummy ones, the rubbery ones are a little bit better because they don't move as much. So let's get that in. So I take it a couple inches down, and what that does is it creates the brakes. You see how I get it in that pocket here? So it kind of holds that pocket. It helps me when I'm like swinging it from flying across and landing in the hummus, because that's happened before. Okay, so holding it, when we do this, we've got to get this one in. This is a classic Saidi move. So watch my hand as I close, and then I release, open the fingers and close. Release and close. Release and close. Now I'm going to move this up a little bit higher so I can have it right in that pocket. So it's like a brake pad. It just sort of stops it from flying. So I come here, I'm holding it, I open the fingers, drop it down, and close. And gravity is going to help you, and you can move it. So a couple of things, super tips. Don't move your elbow with it here. Keep the elbow a little bit closer to the body. And notice it's going to be really painful on your wrist if you don't open your fingers, and it's going to turn into this. And you're going to wonder why you're not getting momentum with it. So do it slowly and watch how the fingers open and close. Otherwise, you can do a lot of damage on the wrist. And I've seen and heard a lot of girls hurting their wrists from doing Saidi. So a couple other things is like use it like with energy. It's sort of a masculine style dance. That's sort of the origins of where it comes from, like the taktib and the Saidi and the men's dance. So when you're holding it, you don't want to be too soft with it, okay? So I like to hold it at the ends. This bothers me for some reason. It's kind of my personal preference. It just doesn't feel right. Feels a little out of the context of the style. So holding it at the end. Hold it when you're holding it up, holding it out, or even at the shoulder. If you're holding it here, you want to have it with some energy, not just kind of sagging and taking it in. All right, so those are some cool tips for you to use. You can use it like when you put it on the floor, and when you're kind of moving around it. So when you're moving around it, let me just face the mirror so you can kind of see this. So if I put it on the floor and I'm moving around it, the stick should stay in place. So if I'm going to do a walk around it, so don't do this and then move the stick as you're going. Okay, so hold it down and then you make your way around it. So a couple of little fun ideas like that. Other things you can do is balancing. So can you put it on your head? That's why I like mine a little heavier. So you can just kind of find that balance, release, and then you can do some isolations with it. Yeah. Practice without the mirror. Practice without the mirror. Again, practice without the mirror. Because the whole balancing thing, you really got to feel and get that sensation. Super important. All right, let me show you the last thing is, I call it the Fifi Abdu swirl. Okay, so typically you're holding your stick like this, and you're swirling forward this way. You can also swirl it back a little bit. I'm not as good on my back way. Now, from here, you can just change the grip. Now, the brakes is gonna be on the top here, okay? Typically, I would use a more matching scrunchie or rubber band, but I wanted you guys to see it in the video. So if you're gonna go on stage with it, use something a little bit more blending in. So this is, I call it the Fifi Abdu, right? So you're gonna go to the side. Let me just face the mirror. So stick is down, the break is at the top of my hand, and then I can go on the side here. So this one is good. You can do a level change. You can do like the big back bends once you're warmed up, all right? So the trick is getting from this position, change it to this position. So you've got to practice that. Let's try that again. So you're here, you're doing your stick dance, you're swirling, and then you want to change it and get it here into that, call it the Fifi position, right? So you can do this back one. And this one you can go really fast. And if you got to stick just enough, you're going to hear the wind and you're going to feel, it's really exciting. So it's kind of like a weapon too. So be careful, be cautious of your pets and your kids. So that's one of my favorite ones to do. I love to do that one as a back bend and to kind of play with that. So get comfortable making those transitions from it being in this position in your hand to this position, and make sure that transition is nice and smooth. So have fun with that. Those are your tips and tricks for working with the stick, and just get, you know, the props should be your friends. So you get comfortable with it, find out the dynamics of the weight, try different ones, find one that works for you, and find one that feels really comfortable to you. So hope you enjoyed this.